How's everyone doing? I'm Rich CELENZA. Thanks for tuning in to the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? So, what the subject today I'm going to talk about is stop worrying about what other people think of you. It's it's to the point I think a lot of times that I'm seeing more than ever is everybody's either lashing out at one another because they disagree with their political, religious, whatever views they have, or they're shitting in their pants because they're afraid to say things because they're afraid they're going to always offend somebody. And I got a newsflash for you. No matter what you do or say, and I've done this in other podcasts, you're going to offend people. I promise you. Because there's no way you will have the same beliefs as everybody else. I think in the past, years and years and years ago when I was younger, it was a little different because a lot of us, almost for the most part, we were only really surrounded by people that were very similar to us. There wasn't a social media, say, platform, right? So if you were Italian, I was around mainly Italians. That's really all I knew. And most of us were all Catholics, right? And then you'd kind of blend in with the Irish because in Chicago there's a lot of Irish, and then they were Catholics, right? Hypothetically, I'm just using that for an example. It wasn't like all of a sudden I was Catholic and I got blended in with another religious group. And if I did, it was more like Lutheran, right? Or something in that nature, something very similar. And then we did have neighbors that were Mormon, these two twins. I love those guys. And I have my cousin who's a Jehovah Witness, who's a big dog Jehovah Witness thing, which was kind of really out there back then. But now with social media and in life in general, the platform's really big, right? So we're now reaching tons of other people. And what's interesting too is a lot of times you wouldn't even be speaking about religion unless you were in church or within your own group. Now we're blending all these different religious perspectives, social media again, or just in general with people kind of openly talking about it because we're so, the country is it's much differently, everything's mixed more, right? We have to accept that. But at the same time, we have to understand, if you believe certain things, and in my opinion, as long as you're not hurting others, and it's kind of respectable, I don't feel bad for what you believe. But then again, don't shun or go nuts on somebody else for what they believe, right? Because I think at the end of the day, we just want to all, I think, help one another. I would think. I don't care regardless what race, religion you are, what your political view is. If you don't want the best for human beings, then you're just a jagoff. You're just a piece of shit. I don't care who you are. And and that doesn't mean that, how do I say this? Like that some things that you may do, even eating wise. So why I'm jumping into eating here is so let me just jump into like say a vegetarian, vegan, and all this. Like somebody who is a vegetarian and then I'm eating meat, and you think I want to kill animals, which is not necessarily true at all. I love animals, but I will eat meat, right? I don't want to feel bad if I'm eating meat. I'm just using for an example. I won't jump from that to this because that's how my brain works. But I'm just giving you an example. And sometimes I think and I dated somebody who was a vegetarian, and what was interesting though is I got in pretty good shape because I started to eat more like what she was eating, but then I just felt very weak too at times, like I wasn't getting enough nutrition, and I was just missing all the foods I love, and I almost felt bad. I secretively started eating behind her back, burgers, steaks, all this, like, not that I was cheating, like that's a joke on the food thing. But the truth is, I was like having an identity crisis, like just with food, who I am, and why would I feel bad about what I want to eat? And it was very interesting because she wouldn't even bring meats into her kitchen or her food, and wouldn't let my mother cook, or wouldn't go to even my father owned an Italian beef stand, and she didn't even want to go there. And that's very interesting. And I'm not condemning her for that. That's her beliefs, but it would almost be like I'm changing my identity when I don't want to change my identity. And I think a lot of times when people make us feel bad about who we are, it's almost like we have to sometimes change our identity. Now, if we're hurting people, hypothetically, or doing things that are not good in nature, and somebody wants to help us, or, if we're if there's certain things we are doing, we need to step back and say, well, I am misbehaving, or I shouldn't be saying this or that. I get it. But I say lead by example. But if you are hurting people, physically or verbally, you got to take a step back, because that's doing nothing for anyone, and it's probably not even doing anything for you. I don't know if that makes you feel good, because it reminds me of like when I get in an argument a lot of times, regardless if I won or lost, how was the end outcome? That's really what that's what really counts. Like, did I hurt this person? Did I hurt the friendship? Did I hurt the trust? And again, there's a time to talk and a time to listen. And I get there's a time to be very patient and there's a time to tell someone to piss off, right? I get all these things. But what I'm really talking about is learning that your opinions are very valued and they're your opinions. And just because somebody, and it could be your wife, your girlfriend, your kids, your friends, whatever, you're not going to agree on everything. That's kind of common sense. It's like, that doesn't mean it has to escalate and end up in a war or just not being friends anymore or any of these things. You don't have to go that far with it. It is not worth it. If you look at a lot of friendships and relationships and also taking sides, you don't have to do that shit. You really don't. Even though maybe you may have parents and grandparents that programmed you too to be a certain way, like it's my way or the highway, or these two got divorced, or like say in a relationship status, like you get a divorce hypothetically, now no one can deal with your ex-wife really. That's preposterous. And a lot of old timers are like that, or like you're friends with somebody and your family's friends with them, you're not anymore, and then your whole family shuts them down. I think that's horrific. That's absolutely ridiculous. Now, if you want to do that, of course it's on you. You can do whatever you want to do. And if you do that to others, hey, that's what you do. But I'm just telling you, look at a different perspective. If you don't like, and I see a lot of people, they want people to value their opinions. But a lot of times they don't want to value others. Why? Right? Why do you do that? I think it's a form of insecurity, or just maybe it's not intelligence. They're not intelligent enough to see another perspective. And again, I understand if you are a certain religion, right? And I'm not talking about terrorism and all this bullshit. We get that's out. But if you really get caught up in, and I can see a lot of people, even with Catholics and stuff, they have their issues. Believe me, I'm the king of the issues with that. But let's take, for instance, my mother's still a Catholic. A lot of my closest family members are Catholics. And even though I may have a lot of beef with priests and that the way things are ran in the archdiocese, that doesn't mean I'm mad at my mother or I would condemn my mother or tell her to get out of the church or make her feel insecure. Sure, we have discussions on how I feel, and she's open-minded now enough to accept my opinion on that, right? And I think she was first hurt that I wasn't necessarily practicing the way she practices, but at the same time, she understood, and I still understand why she does what she does, right? Same with anything. Even though my cousin may be a Jehovah's Witness, I don't necessarily understand because I had to study that religion. I had to study a bunch of religions. I went to a Catholic high school, so every year you had to pick a new religion. And I did Jehovah's Witness once because he was one, and I had to interview one, and blah, blah, blah. And sure, there's a lot of things that I may not necessarily believe that he believes in, but I still love my cousin. I'm like, holy cow, this guy, he treats me unbelievably. He can do anything, too. He's an amazing fisherman. He travels the world. He's so cultured. I mean, there's nothing. I would hope he wouldn't be upset at me enough to say, hey, you're not a Jehovah's Witness, get out of my life, right? And I would definitely never want him out of my life. I love him. So, and that can happen with a lot of relationships, I think, too, when people are changing. And I think we're always evolving. So, maybe I do think it gets a little tricky with kids. Like if I came home, say, years ago when I had my kids, and all of a sudden I came home and my wife said, hey, Jehovah's Witnesses came by, hypothetically, and we're going to start studying Jehovah's Witness, I'd put the hammer down and say, no, you're not. You're not going to program my kids to do that. I didn't go through that. What I'm saying is that could be an issue. But if my kids, now that they're older, because what I taught my kids was, they went to a Catholic school for a while because I want them to learn religion. But as they got older, I want them to have the option to choose whatever religion they wanted. I would speak to them and say, listen, everything you read in the Bible, hypothetically, or everything this priest or whoever says to you, listen, you have to believe in it. That doesn't mean just because they're saying it that that's right or wrong. I want you to understand you're just learning here. You can believe in God or not. I'm going to treat you the same way, right? That's how I looked at my kids' life because I was always consumed with religion and constantly trying to be forced in every aspect of my life to be in fear of Jesus or be in fear of religion. Right? And if I did this, it was wrong. This would happen to me. If I did this, I'd burn in hell. And if I did this would happen. Walking around with this blanket of shame, which I think is fucking ridiculous to program your kids, but that's just me. I think you should be teaching your kids to walk around with a blanket of confidence and to believe in themselves, to be open-minded and figure things out as time goes on. Learn maybe this. I don't care if my daughters came back and said, "Hey, I'm a Mormon now." I don't care if they came back and said, "Hey, I'm it could be anything." I don't care if they said they were Lutheran. I don't care if they said I'm Jehovah's Witness. I don't care, whatever. As long as I believe, again, and I can have my own issues with them in the future, if they became something that I didn't appreciate or I didn't like the way it was, I would believe my values, then I would believe in myself to say I'm not down with that, right? And I think a lot of people are almost nowadays more than ever afraid to say a lot of things to their kids or younger people or even friends about their beliefs. It's either one way or another. I see on social media, it's almost like everybody hides behind the internet, because you see on Facebook and things where they're, especially politics, they're forcing their shit down your throat. Then they end up in arguments. And then when you see them, it's never even brought up, right? Or they're preaching this about whatever. It could be, it doesn't have to be politics. It could be just something that happened in general. They're trying to throw it on your throat to say, if you don't believe this, you're an asshole, which I just did a podcast on this. Don't believe the shit you see on the news, please. I'm sure there's some truth, and there's a lot of no truth. That goes for magazines and newspapers, just what you're hearing in general, because a lot of things you're hearing are from other assholes that don't know any more than you do. But you, if it fits your agenda or fits what you believe, then all of a sudden you want to spread the word, right? If it doesn't, you want to smash it. It's ridiculous. Anyways. But here's the thing. Believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, you're going to be golden. I'm telling you right now. If you believe in yourself, people are going to believe in you. That goes for work, religion, political, whatever the case may be. Even if they disagree with you and you know how to respond to a lot of different things and know how to hold your own, your behavior, I talk about this all the time, is everything. How you behave through certain situations. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, my behavior personally or socially doesn't always work very well with me. But what's interesting, I think for the most part, in social media, I'm pretty good with behavior. I don't leave any negative comments because I don't believe I should a lot of times. And I usually only love a lot of things people post. As long as, again, a lot of times, as long as they're not too harsh, I get their point. Either side, it could be a Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever. I see where they're coming from, and I think a lot of people are good-natured on either end. Some are just idiots, though, too, I will say, but I'm not going to sit up there and start arguing with them on social media, and I don't think it's worth it. Even some of my friends that are over the top, maybe with politics and stuff, I'll literally say, "Don't shut the F up. I don't want to hear your shit." I'll do that personally. I don't do that socially. And I do that for respect to that person, I think, a lot of times. And I think one thing that I do have to learn, and I think a lot of people have to learn, is, well, there's two things. One is I need to learn to not, I almost have a lot of patience. I have all this patience to listen to somebody, and then eventually I run out of patience, then I get aggravated and I blast them. But I personally blast them. I don't text blast. I don't email blast them. I don't social media comment bullshit. I don't Facebook Messenger like get in arguments. I'm one-on-one in your face, like that. Is that good or bad? I don't know. You know where it's coming from, though. I can assure you. And even if I usually don't ever do it in groups. I usually just do it one-on-one. And but once I go there, then I'm just going to let it all out. Good or bad? I don't know, but I value my opinions a lot. But I do know at the same time, I don't want to embarrass anybody. I think one of the worst things that in life in general, and I don't know where we kind of started to do this to people, is like embarrassing them. Makes us feel good or makes us feel important. And I think that's very rude. But then on the other hand, I think sometimes when I blast somebody verbally or I don't get along with them and I get in an argument hypothetically, I kind of become rude, right? But again, there's a difference, I think, when you do it in a social environment, like it's kind of almost a bullying perspective. That I despise. And I think sometimes we don't realize we are bullying other people. And I did a podcast on that. You know, a lot of people, I think, that complain about being bullies that I know are bullies. A lot of times they are. Or I know people that complain about bullies and they're bullying people all the time. And a lot of, if you look at social media or a lot of the way people are acting, they are kind of bullying people, which doesn't make any sense because a post or a share or a comment, do you really think you're going to change their mind? I mean, really, for the most part, 99.9% of the time, people already know what they want to believe, what they are, and everything in between, right? They know who they are. You doing that does nothing but just you kind of take something, and I call it, you take a wick, right? And then all of a sudden you turn it into an infernal. And is it really worth it? But back to you believing in your beliefs, there's a way to believe in your beliefs, and I think always kind of hold steady, I call it, where you are just always you believe in what you believe and everybody understands who you are. That doesn't mean you can't evolve or change either, though, because I think the best thing about being a human being is evolving and changing, especially your mindset and understanding that there's so much you don't know, right? I always said it, you know a lot less. Obviously, you know a lot less than you know. And you're wrong probably a lot more than you're right. If you were right more than you were wrong, you'd probably be a millionaire, right? And if you are a millionaire, God bless you. But I'm saying most people aren't, or a lot of decisions you keep making usually don't prosper the way you think. They kind of get you by, good and bad. But for the most part, a lot of decisions you made over the years weren't good decisions. Some were good, some were bad. But my point being is you got to understand you're making a lot of bad decisions. So a lot of your opinions, though, too, even though you may believe in them and that they're right, which they may be right, but sometimes they are wrong, right? And you probably see that in the news, or you see that everywhere where people are talking shit and then the facts come out and they're wrong, right? Everybody jumped on something. Everybody believed a certain something. Don't be that type of person. Really, I think, is to sit back and let things breathe, I call it. Take the time to really understand that what you're getting, a lot of information, is a lot of bullshit. First, I look at information as bullshit. I don't look at it as fact, right? It's kind of like a court case. Like when you go to court, all of a sudden you look at things one way, and then all of a sudden the defense comes out, and you're like, holy shit, I didn't look at it that way. And sometimes, a lot of times, they are guilty, but a lot of times they're not guilty too, right? There's all these different things going on once the facts all come out. And I think even with our own opinions, a lot of times, we believe certain things that we don't even know all the facts to. So a lot of things you believe, you should sit back and really start to analyze and say, why do I believe that? Where did I hear that? Who programmed that in my brain? Why do I believe that because I truly believe that, or just because I believe that because my parents taught me to believe that? Or do I believe it because because a book told me, like a Bible told me to believe that? Or do I believe that because whatever the case may be? Like, really start analyzing your life and figuring out that even though your beliefs, no one should, condemn your beliefs, I think. But at the same time, are you really true to your own beliefs? Because I think a lot of people just do certain things and say certain things, but the truth is they don't really believe them. And that could be even marriage. A lot of people are like, yeah, I'm for marriage. And then they're cheating, right? I'm for this, and then they're doing the complete opposite behind closed doors. Or I'm anti-pornography when they're on porn. So it's kind of like a kind of a bullshit thing. So publicly you may have this image of, yeah, I'm this way, and I believe in all these things. And then secretively you're like, oh no, I'm more like this actually, but I don't want anybody to know that because, I don't want them to truly know who I am. And here's the thing. I'm not telling you to go out and, if you like porn, start publicly posting shit about porn. That's not what I'm telling you. But be a little more honest with yourself and be a little more open-minded when people do post things, because I think a lot of people, especially with social media, are condemning others. They're like, would you look at what they posted? Even it could be a sexy picture of themselves. Like, I would never do that. I hear this with women all the time. Look at her. Then after they get divorced, they're doing the same shit. I'm just saying. Same with dudes. Can you believe this? He's posting this. And then a year or two down the road, they're doing the same shit. So be careful of what you do and say, though, because a lot of times it just comes back to haunt you. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there with, really, if you have strong beliefs, don't make anybody feel like they're not valued, okay? And I don't care what the hell they are, okay? Because you, no matter what age you are, if you're, especially an adult, obviously, or middle-aged, you've been through a lot in your life. You know what you know, right? And a lot of times I think, too, when I talk about this in my Mastering Self-Confidence program, actually, is when you start, if you've been through a divorce or a breakup, or you're dating different people, a lot of times they try to, I call them copycat daters, where they start to conform into whoever they're dating. And I'm not saying that's bad. If you're open-minded enough and say you start dating somebody who's a Baptist and they want you to go to church with them, and you like it, God bless you. But a lot of times I see, sometimes with men, they just kind of conform into whoever they're with. And I'm not saying that that's good or bad. That's on you. But I do think you have to have some type of foundation where you've got to understand who you are as a person, right? And what your real beliefs are. And if you don't necessarily believe. You're dating somebody in a lot of things that they want to do or believe in. You just got to confront them and say, listen, I'm not down with that. I'm down with this. And if your relationship's strong, you can be open-minded enough to say, hey, all right, you're a Baptist. You want to go to a Baptist church. I'm not religious. I'm sorry. I'm not going to be going to church with you. Doesn't mean I don't love you, right? Now, if you have children together or you get married, that's a whole different thing you two have to figure out. But if you're older and you keep kind of bullshitting yourself to make everybody else happy, I think you really got to sit down and figure out who you are. Because a lot of times that's where you're finding the problem is you don't know who you are and you keep trying to fit in somewhere else and you almost flip-flop to the point where what is your true identity? What's your, if you don't understand yourself or you don't believe in yourself, then how's anybody else supposed to, right? All right, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thanks for tuning in to the Rich CELENZA Show. WTF are you talking about? Like I said earlier, I got a program out called Mastering Self-Confidence. It's the blueprint to try to help men find the woman or women of their dreams, even if they've been through a bad breakup or divorce. I'm on YouTube, just my name, Rich CELENZA. We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter as well. And again, I hope I don't offend anybody with my opinions. I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with a lot of things I have to say. God bless you. This is just how I feel and what I've been through. And yeah. That's really about it. So I'll wrap it up there. Take care, and if you're traveling, safe travels.